The Queens of Spice podcast is created for adult audiences only. Our show contains cursing, vulgar content, dark humor, descriptions of sexual acts and desires, and is not suitable for listeners under the age of 18. Some episodes also contain themes which may be triggering for listeners. Please take care of yourself. Welcome to the Queens of Spice podcast. I'm Rachel Ragachu, your host, and I'm here with my two BFFs, Jack and Ash. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi.
Despite that enthusiastic intro, I am quite upset to be here tonight.
Yep.
We're talking about Credence.
Yes, we are.
Uncle Jake has finally arrived, Jack.
Uncle Jake!
You know, rereading this book for a second time really put in perspective how much I don't like this book. I really just I went into it knowing I didn't like this book, and then I read it and I'm like, yeah, I really don't like this book.
I thought we weren't supposed to say how much we didn't like the book at the beginning of the podcast. Did you not say that in the last podcast when I said I didn't like the book?
You launched into all the reasons why you didn't like the book out the
that's
back.
true.
I just don't like this book, so I'm
and
setting,
there are reasons.
I'm setting people up on this one. Okay, so trigger warnings.
Yep.
Gosh. Okay.
Pseudo incest.
Okay, hold on. No. Start at the top. Trigger warnings: suicide.
Yep.
Parental death. Sorry, Jack.
I'm triggered.
Pseudo incest.
Pseudo incest. What's it called? Like barely 18? I guess is what you call that.
I mean, you could consider it.
The Olsen twins phenomenon?
Potentially.
Is that a trigger or a squick, though?
It could, I mean, it's a squick for me. It could be a trigger for other people. Also, I will say, if you actually read this book, there's a little bit of non-con.
Oh, no.
And-
not a... Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
There's some non-con, and there's some dub-con, I would say, as well.
I think majority of it is dubcon.
Yeah, majority is dub-con, definitely some non-con. So
Sexual assault.
Yeah, sexual assault, pregnancy. Pregnancy is in it.
Yes.
In
Ideation.
two different...
Pregnancy ideation.
Well, but then one of the characters isn't being pregnant, but it's one of these side characters. Anyway, whatever.
Oh, yes, that one.
Anyway, so just if you're going to read it, just be aware of those things.
This is along the lines of Shark Daddy in that there are a lot of red flags in this. This is not a fluffy, romancy, oh, I'm so happy they're together kind of book.
I'm not happy about any of this at all.
Rachel's not happy with any of it.
I actually wish, because I put tabs in my book, obviously, which, book talkers do all the time. You see it. But I really wish I had actual red tabs to put in here for all the red goddamn flags that this book is covered in. So.
Yeah, this is not a romance book that you're like, oh, gee, I really want this in my life. Unless you are
here's the thing.
problematic, maybe.
Again, no judgment. If you like what you like.
Oh, yeah.
We
don't yuck yum here.
No, and full disclosure, age gap trope is not my thing at all. I always get squicky about it, especially when they're like, I'm 17, I'm gonna be 18. Yeah, you're really mature for your age. I fucking hate that. It drives me nuts. So I don't like it. And we're gonna get into that, I'm sure, and unpack all that. Yay, how exciting.
How you feeling there, Rachel?
I have a question
What's
about
up?
one of the trigger things.
Sure.
So, the barely 18 thing, is it like a grooming sort of situation? Like, I've been waiting for you to turn 18?
No.
Because that, I feel like, is a bit
Well,
different than
yes, but no.
I met someone and they're 18, you know?
It's different if he was watching her entire life and is like, oh, I can't wait until she turns 18. Instead, she's 17, short of being 18 when she meets him. So yeah, you could say maybe he groomed her a little bit and that she wasn't quite 18 before the interest started, but Rachel's having
The cringe is real.
The
cringe
is
is so real.
See, here's the thing. I am bothered by next to nothing, and aside...
Except for littles.
Yeah.
Except for grammatical errors in spoof books.
That's fair. and poorly executed, fat-phobic, plus-size heroines. That also bugs me, but that's besides the point.
We won't read those. I refuse to.
Yeah. Anyway. So while I see it as it's legal, so it's fine, Rachel sees it as no, bad, hit you in the nose with a fucking newspaper, spray you with the. It's like that TikToker that sprays people for.
Yes, atomic apple pie.
Yeah.
I love her. She's wonderful.
Yeah. Like
Follow her on TikTok. She's great.
If Rachel had a fucking squirt bottle right now, I would be soaked because she would just be like, "No, bad Ashton, bad Ashton." And to be fair,
but in fairness, we read Harriet Porber last week, and that was my love child. So, we're reading Credence this week, and I'm gonna do it justice.
I feel like if you had known what Credence was about, you just would have told me you weren't gonna read it. Oh no, we had this conversation how you just more recently found out that your squick is the age gap thing.
Yeah, I think so, because I started reading a few other books. Now, granted, when I read this book, I wasn't like super enthused to be reading it. But when I read it the second time, I was more upset about it because I don't know, I got to digest different parts of the book that time.
Yeah.
And I knew going into it what my attitude was going to be. But that being said, let me read the summary and then we'll get into it.
Then we'll unpack.
All that. Tiernan de Haas doesn't care about anything anymore. The only child of the film producer and his starlet wife, she's grown up with wealth and the privilege, but not love or guidance. Shipped off to boarding school from an early age, it was still impossible to escape the loneliness and carve out a life of her own. The shadow of her parents' fame followed her everywhere. And when they suddenly pass away, she knows she should be devastated. But has anything really changed? She's always been alone, hasn't she? Jake Vanderberg, her father's stepbrother and only living relative, assumes guardianship of Tiernan, who is still 2 months shy of being 18. Sent to live with him and his two sons, Noah and Caleb, in the mountains of Colorado, Tiernan soon learns that these men now have the say in what she chooses to care and not care about anymore. As the three of them take her under their wing, teach her how to work and survive in the remote woods far away from the rest of the world, she slowly finds a place among them. And as a part of them, she also realizes that lines blur and rules become easy to break when no one else is watching. One of them has her. The other one wants her, but he's going to keep her. Okay, so what I will say about this is when I started reading this book again, the opening is Tiernan dealing with her parents' suicide.
Okay. Of all of this book, what upset me the most was her motherfucking parents.
That's fair.
The goddamn fucking swing, the tire swing in the backyard. I was like...
That's what they killed themselves with?
No. So
no, they drug themselves.
So there's a tire swing in the backyard, and in the beginning of the book it goes through this whole thing where there's a tire swing in the backyard, and you'd think that it would be there because of the fact that they have a child.
Yes.
But it's not. The father put it there for the mother, and he would push her mother on the tire swing and never push her on the tire swing. So one of the first things that is her mother's assistant does after they like deal with the bodies and stuff is cut down the fucking tire swing because you have a child and you don't.
So at the beginning of the book, she is just dealing with her parents' loss, and Mariah, her mother's assistant, is there in the house with her, who basically raised her, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Apart from like, nannies and the private schools she went to and all these things. So a lot of this book is like inner dialogue of her going through it. She's 17, like just lost both her parents. She's independent enough, but like she's legally not allowed to live by herself.
She lost both of her parents too because like one of them was sick and the other one didn't want to live without the other, so they committed suicide together.
That's right. Her father had cancer, and they gave him like something 6 or 8 months to live or something. Which anyway,
yeah.
Don't get me started on the plot holes, but
Red flags.
Yeah. And so she's staring out this window, processing all this information, looking at this tire swing, and Mariah just goes out and chops the tire swing down.
Which I fucking loved.
Yeah, I love her attitude. I like her a lot as a character, actually.
But also, like, to be like, oh, there's plot holes would be like to go to a Fast and the Furious movie and be like, this is not an Oscar quality movie. You don't read a book like that, this to be like, anyway. I wasn't looking.
Do you want me to? No. Hold on. Let me record that and then play it back 10 more times as I go through this book, because you're going to continue saying that with every single point that I have, how much I hated this book.
Well, I mean, again, it's a perspective thing.
It is.
You don't read this book because you like it. You read it because you have to.
In Rachel's case, yes.
In my case, yes.
No, it's entertaining.
It
It's
is.
just-
Okay, so when I was reading that original part where she's processing all the grief and she's going through and she's trying to suss it all out, it almost like reading it again gave me so much hope again that like, okay, this is starting off like a really strong book. The emotional connection's there. Like,
your second time through, you were filled with hope. I'm sorry. That's like reading when you read Gravity and you're like, maybe it'll be better the second time. No, it still hurts.
no, it's still emotional damage.
Yeah, exactly.
But I honestly like had forgotten about the beginning of the book. I knew the greater details, but I couldn't remember the fine details. And like the emotional connection that happens and like her going through it and stuff. Like, it's reading it through the second time, it hit a lot harder, I think. Especially like knowing the end and how everything turns out and all that stuff. So I will say like the beginning like quarter of this book, excellent.
And like you said, Mariah's character is like the way she looks out for her throughout the entirety of the thing, even though she's not always present. It's it was good to see somebody have her back in a way that wasn't toxic.
Yeah, and like aggressively have her back,
Yes.
which I appreciate because like aggressive care that she puts towards Tiernan when Tiernan herself doesn't know what she needs or wants.
Yes.
Which I mean is what a parent should be doing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Do you think she's aggressively caring about her if she gets fucked by her uncle? Like,
Okay, so Mariah.
What would you stop caring about somebody if they got fucked by
No,
their
I
uncle?
mean, like-
I feel like you would care about them more.
I feel like if someone was protecting me, it's very unlikely I'd be fucked by my uncle.
Okay, so
and two cousins. Is
so
that
Jack,
maybe?
here's where things go off the rails. So she gets this call because Mariah wants her to move in with her and like stay with her and whatever. And Tiernan's kind of like ho-humming about that because, you know, I'm sure deep down she wants to disconnect herself from this life, rightly so. She's like always in the spotlight. Her parents are always in the spotlight. Like they just passed away. It's all like there's a lot of shit going on. She doesn't want to be involved in any of it. She wants to leave.
Yeah.
Fair. So her uncle conveniently calls her on her secret cell phone. Conveniently.
her uncle, who her father, that was one thing I was like, okay, her father didn't get along with his stepbrother, so why did he leave her to him in his will?
And they say, they come back to it so many stupid fucking times in this fucking book where they're like, the best thing my parents ever did was like give me to Uncle Jake.
Oh my god.
The squick is real. I'm dramatizing it a bit, but it's real. It's there. And then, but she also uses it against him too to be like, the worst thing my parents ever did was give me to you at the same time because
Yeah.
she's fucking 17.
Yeah, because she's a teenager and she fights with him all the
Teenager.
time.
That's what she does.
Yeah. So he buys her candy. All that was missing from that scene was a fucking white van.
Oh my god.
I wish I was joking.
You know what? It's worse describing this than reading it, I think.
Oh,
It's just like when you say it out, you're like, oh, God, this is obscenely bad.
But like,
I think all these books are. I think
was
that's
just gonna
why
say,
I
like-
am traumatized.
I mean,
You liked Harriet Prober. Porber, sorry. Okay, so Uncle Jake calls her on her secret cell phone and
Super secret cell phone.
invites her, basically going to send her a plane ticket to come to Colorado and live with them because that's what was
he
in the will.
warns her. He warns her.
Yeah,
He's
that they get
like,
snowed in and it's
We're snowed in 6 months of the year.
it's very isolated.
And it's very isolating, and I understand if you want to stay home and do whatever, but like we just want
we
you
don't
to
have
know,
Starbucks here.
we just want you to know. I just want you to know that like you have family that you didn't know about.
And so she clings to that kind of ideal of like 1 isolation, 2 a different place, and then
Yeah.
3 family. And then so she goes off to Colorado and meets her uncle, and uncle picks her up at the airport. And
Step uncle.
Step uncle.
Sorry. Step uncle.
Stunkle.
Still uncle. Calls him uncle. Considers that her uncle. Didn't grow up with him as an uncle, but is still an
This
uncle.
is a sticking point
and
for
and
Rachel.
his own and her only family that she grows really close with.
This is a sticking point for Rachel.
I'm a little like, okay, so far less horrified that she didn't grow up with him as her uncle. Right?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
It doesn't bother me, but it bugs Rachel.
And
So you would rather her have sex with her legitimate uncle?
No.
If you had to pick, which would you rather? Rachel's like, neither.
Okay, and I'll precursor this with like I am not close with my family. with any of my extended family for that matter. So most of my friends and like parental figures in my life have become my family. And so when I look at this being like, she went off to this place to have this family she always wanted with basically like cousins and basically an uncle. And she's like, but I actually want to fuck them. And
All
they
of
want
them.
to, all of them, and they want to fuck me. And that's cool. And I'm just like, cringe so bad. I can't take myself out of that.
So what you're saying is because of your personal experiences, you have a you have a bias
Against fucking your uncle. How dare you?
My point is that due to the things that you've experienced in your life, it has colored the way you view the things that are happening.
Now, what I will also say is that I have highlighted several spots in this book where the characters agreed with me. Basically, there's a lot of commentary in this book, too. I mean, we're kind of setting it up, but surprise, like they just want to fuck each other.
Shocking!
Shocking.
A book that we reviewed that they just want to fuck each other in.
Surprise. But there's a whole like underlying narrative that the author Penelope Douglas, who we talked about briefly, they know that they're writing this and people are going to disagree with it straight off the bat, and then so they're writing it in order to freak people out at some point. And I think you mentioned
It's
that
shock value.
Yeah, that like some of Penelope's books are written specifically for shock value.
A lot of the books that I have read by, and I say that having read a handful, have the like taboo shock value thing, either like intense bully or age gap and those kinds of things. And it's like they're being read by people, and for whatever their reasons are, so somebody digs them.
And that's the thing, because like
Me.
you're into this one in particular. I'm not, and so that's our bias, I guess, or my bias.
Are you looking at my penises?
Oh yeah, I made a coloring sheet for this book that so since they're in Colorado, there's a lot of mountains and they live on a mountain range, and so I made Penis Mountain, and there's 3 penises because there's 3 guys that rail her in this book. So I thought Penis Mountain.
I think Uncle Jake's probably this one here, is it?
Listen,
No,
you do
Caleb.
you do whatever you want. So we get off track. So she ends up
Penises. How? Yeah.
as one does. So we end up in Colorado on the peak that gets snowed in a bajillion times. There's like this weird tension with like the townie kids. I say kids because they're all in their 20s. The townie.
And they should not be having sex with Uncle Jake.
Well, that's the thing. Okay, so but that is actually a thing though.
Yeah.
Because it is not just Uncle Jake. It's Uncle Jake and Noah, and I guess Caleb too.
Yeah.
The townie bitches come up and they fuck all 3 of them, and like the chick that
Not necessarily all together, because I think they specifically said in this book that like they don't share women, quote unquote.
Jake says he doesn't share, and he's not going to share with his sons. That was
even though he does.
That was a big that was a line. But anyway, that was a.
But like when like the first night Tiernan's there, she wakes up the next morning and like a 23-year-old is crawling out of Jake's bed.
Yeah, that's where I was going with it. Yeah. And like they eventually have this whole thing where like they're fucking everything, but like the thought of anybody touching her and they go fucking alpha male bullshit.
Yeah, it's super, super possessive. This entire book is very possessive in that regard.
Yeah.
Too. Maybe trigger warning on that one, but
It's
incredibly
hot.
possessive.
I mean, it's hot. I mean, it is what it is.
Twitch.
And it's like,
You know what I think it is too? If she was like if she was the same age as Noah, I don't think I'd have a problem with this at all.
really?
Yeah.
How old's he?
He's 20.
20.
Yeah, I don't think I would. Not nearly as bad, because it's like then you take out huge plot points that you could make.
I guess.
So anyway, but I mean that's neither here nor there. That's how they wrote the book, and that's what we're reading.
So they get up to the mountain. She gets introduced to Noah, and Noah's all flirty. But she doesn't meet Caleb because Caleb is
He's in, which means he's in the woods.
Yeah, and like
He goes in for a while at times.
yeah, Caleb's got some issues, some major issues, and then you don't realize how like major the issues are until you're actually introduced to Caleb, and then you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, so he's nonverbal, and
But everyone is human, so that's
everyone
nice.
is human. Yes. He's nonverbal. He's got a lot of trauma.
Oh, big time.
He's
trauma.
very like animalistic in the way he
Primal,
functions.
maybe?
He's very primal.
Which might be why I'm like, okay, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
Sir?
perfectly fine.
yeah, that's good.
I'm
okay with that.
And then so like they own a motocross bike company where they make motocross bikes and sell
Yeah,
them.
and Noah rides them.
And Noah's a rider. Yeah.
Ride or die, bitches.
And so like all the kids in town are like motocross kids or whatever, and they hang out at their
Yeah,
cabin
it's
sometimes.
a whole thing.
Yeah.
And then there's that douche nozzle who like hangs out with her or like tries to like talk to her.
Terrence.
Terrence. Oh yeah, he even has a douchey name. Sorry, Terrence is out there.
Terrence and Cece are the two like kind of main local kid characters.
Right. Yeah.
Cece is like screwing Caleb,
Oh yeah.
and
I love that
Terrence wants to nail fresh meat here. Freaking Tiernan.
Tiernan. Shark bait. Boo-ha.
I mean, that's basically what they treat her as. It's
Yeah.
kind of
Jail
the
bait.
worst.
When Tiernan first meets Caleb, the look on Rachel's face. Tiernan's like, it's already established that her and Uncle Jake are not like getting along great. They're always at each other's
Oh, and
throat.
so at this point too, she was coming back to having night terrors because she's had night terrors when she was a kid,
yeah.
and now since her parents passed and she came back here, I assume it's stress related. She's having
She
night
also like
terrors
wets,
again.
she also wets the bed. Like that's a part of it.
It is not. You just made that up.
I did not make it up. Is it not a part of it?
No,
Oh, I thought she wet the bed.
no. Where
Oh.
did you get that?
I don't know. I read it like a year ago. Over
Don't
a year
kink
ago.
shame my friend Ashton.
Maybe I'm really into people peeing the bed, okay? No, anyway, she's fighting. She's the night terrorist, yes. And then she decides, like, what, 2 a.m, that she's just going to leave?
The way it works is, so she has the night terror at
Yes.
like 1 a.m, and then she like ends up there's a hole in her shirt, and she ended up like ripping her shirt in the middle of her night terror. So she goes downstairs to go through her laundry or whatever and she's like, whatever.
I thought she was going to leave.
She was gonna pack her shit, or she's doing, I don't know. She was in the laundry room area for a reason.
I thought she was, to pack her, like, because...
Listen, the amount of times that this girl almost packs her bags and leaves
Yeah.
in the first week that she's there
Yeah.
is like 6 times.
Which is also a red flag.
You think?
So she goes in, is grabbing her shit, and then the fucking door to the garage opens, and there's just this...
Guy covered in blood.
shirtless, shoeless guy covered in blood with a fucking dead deer over his shoulders. And so she's like, "You must be Caleb." And he does not talk to her because she does not know that he is nonverbal. And then he gets a little...
He sees her stomach, and like, because her shirt's all torn up or whatever, and it gets him real hot and heavy. And
So
then he
he-
throws her down the fucking car and tries to like,
He gets a little sexual assaulty.
yeah, he gets super sexual assaulty. And then fortunately though, Noah rolls up
Yeah.
because he hears a ruckus.
Yeah. His response was great too. She's not a townie guy. She's not a townie Caleb. She's dad's niece. You can't do that. Because her being dad's niece is a reason why he can't sexually assault her. That is... It's not funny. Okay. I need to...
You're laughing at my reaction.
Yeah,
I want to perish right now.
I need to preface this by saying I do not find sexual assault funny by any stretch of the imagination.
You find me dying in shame right now, though. Very funny.
You have to see the look on Rachel's face in order to understand why I'm laughing.
Admittedly, overreacted. I reacted.
I don't. Again, this is a perception thing. Is it an overreaction? Is it an underreaction? I don't know. One could argue that I'm underreacting. But
Jack, how are you reacting right now? How do you feel?
I wish I was drunk.
Well, drink up, buddy.
Drink up me hearties, yo-ho.
Yeah.
So that happens.
So that happens.
And then, like, there's so much I will say about this book, especially because, like, it was a slog this week to get through this book. It's been a week, and then I had to read this on top of it. I'm like, fuck. Anyway, but, like, the book is long,
yes.
and the book is boring because sorry. The book is long. The book is boring. Don't tell me the book is boring. Ooh, Gravity, the book was boring. But the way Penelope writes is so... Like, they describe every fucking thing that happens.
It's like...
And so
porny
imagine...
Tolkien.
Like Twilight, they describe.
I've never read Twilight.
everything.
No, Tolkien.
I know, but Twilight also. She describes every.
Oh, I don't remember.
It's just really annoying. So if you took out the repetitive, annoying, lame bullshit out of this book, it would be easily half the length. and that would be easier to digest for me. Because the
And then-
longer
and
I'm,
then if you took out the red flags, you would not have a story at all.
you wouldn't have anything. But even still, like, and I don't know, I haven't read any other Penelope's books, but just the way this book is written is aggravating to me, because it's just like the first 7 days of the book is like half the book, and it's such a slog.
But it sets it all up.
It sets something up.
Well, it's like the tension between Tiernan and Caleb too, right? Like when is it Cece's on her knees, like in the she has to go and like feed the animals or something, and
I don't know what she's doing, something
in the barn.
she goes in, she hears a noise and goes into the barn.
Yeah, and then she looks and she's like, "Oh shit!" And there's Caleb getting blown by Cece, and like Caleb's like staring at Tiernan the whole time she's doing it. He's doing it the whole time. It's being done to him. The whole time it happens.
Yeah, Tiernan is staring down Caleb as that's going on.
Yeah, and Caleb's
And then
staring
she
at her.
like lets out a groan in the middle of it.
Oh yeah.
She yeah, anyway, it's seared into my memory, trust me. That was a great snort.
It was more of a growl than it was a snort. That. The look on Rachel's face.
Why do we do this sober? Okay, so much drags out in the first 7 days. After the first week or whatever, she goes home for her parents' funeral.
Oh yeah.
And then while she's back there, it makes her realize, you know, how much she misses the mountain and misses everyone else and whatever. And so, like, the next day after the funeral, the guys are kind of like moping around the kitchen, being like, "We miss Tiernan. Where is she? Just mopey, mope, 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 mope."
Mopey man mope.
And then,
They didn't go with her. Rude.
no, well, I mean, Uncle Jake did offer. He did offer, and she said no. But then, and admittedly, when she's in the middle of funeral, she's like, "I should have asked Jake to come with me." Not in that way. Anyway,
That happens later.
so she
Come with me, Jake.
So it ends up that she came back like the night before, or
'Cause
like
she missed
during the night because she missed them and didn't want to be gone or whatever. And so they're like, "Oh my god, she came back! Yay, we love her so much." Good.
How do you feel about that, Rachel?
No poker face. No chill. I have no chill about this book. God, where do we even go? There's so much stuff that happens. Okay, so
I, like,
do you want to
honestly-
fast forward to like the thing before the winter where she has her birthday basically?
Well, does the thing with Caleb cutting her steak happen before that?
I don't think it does.
I can't.
There's
remember.
so many like little interactions they have.
The only things that like majorly stand out in my mind are the fucking horrific things.
Fair.
But I mean, granted, there's a lot of horrific things.
That's the thing, because it goes from like horrific thing to like mundane to mundane to mundane to horrific to mundane. Like it jumps around so much.
But and it's some of it like, see, and I really liked the transition through Caleb's like trying to be a better person.
It's such a roller coaster
Him in particular.
because he acts like a child,
Yes.
and it makes me crazy because he's 24
Ish. Yeah.
and I don't know. I like dissected the shit out of this book because I hate it so much. So I sat there toiling away, like thinking about it, of like, how could you let your nonverbal child get away with all these things and never help them? Do you know
Because
what I mean?
Jake is also a man child.
Because Jake is also a fucking man child.
Yeah.
like it's insanity.
It's three man children
Yes.
living on a fucking mountain.
Well, and the way
Hence the way they fuck everything that walks.
and the way that Jake treats Noah makes me homicidal.
Yeah, that admittedly is like not cool. I mean, none of it's cool, but like, yeah,
Because he's so
harsh.
like they have such a shit relationship, and they both hate each other so much.
yeah,
And the only time that Noah is happy is when Tiernan is happy around him.
I did like. I mean, not to skip to the end or anything, but I did like the resolution of Tiernan and Noah's relationship and the conclusion that Noah did come to. I know we talked about how you would have liked it to end versus how I was like.
we'll get
Yeah.
there. It was an interesting ending.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
I wrote a quote down to describe the relationship actually. The way Jake talks to Noah makes me want to punch babies. Quote, it was the bike that won the race, you mean.
Yeah.
So because they have this like pop-up race because they're motocross racers, and he rides the company's bikes obviously, and so Jake always attributes Noah's ability to ride bike to the bike itself, never to his ability.
Yeah.
And
But probably not if he loses.
yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't lose though.
He's-
This is the thing.
Yeah. 'Cause
He never loses. He's really good.
But if he did,
And then
it would be
his
fault.
his father like doesn't want him leaving the mountain and finding a sponsorship because in the guise of like, well, this isn't a career that's sustainable. Like you need a career that's sustainable. Like motocross racers get, injured one time and they're done for their life.
And yet he makes motocross.
And yet he makes motocross bikes. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hazy what happens up until her birthday because then there's like the gifting of the belt.
Oh my god. He carves. So Caleb makes leather belts and whatever.
Yep.
And he carves this like really intricate belt for her with a bunch of scenes from like her patio, like her deck in her bedroom and stuff, of like the mountains and the dream catcher and like all this stuff.
And it's really pretty.
It's quite lovely. And then
But
yeah, there's a butt.
Yeah, there is a
But the holes in the belt that would like loop the belt, like the whatever notches in them, it goes from one end all the way to the other.
And she's like, I'm really confused. My waist isn't this small. And it's Noah who looks at her and says, but your wrists are.
He's using it as bondage, is what she's getting at.
Also, like her underwear are going missing and all that other stuff.
They never resolve that. She just notices a bunch of her underwear had gone missing. She never finds them, and she has no idea what happened.
It was the hair tie that she found, or the hair.
It was a ribbon
that she
yeah,
found
that
in
he was
Noah's-
burying in his. He had it buried in his pillow
Yeah.
because he liked the feeling of it.
oh well, that's fair because those are nice, like the satiny kind of, like baby
What's he rubbing it
blankets.
on though? I'm just saying.
Questions.
So yeah.
Questions that have no answers.
So it's her birthday.
Right
She's-
here.
Penis Mountain.
That's Uncle Jake though? Why would if that's Uncle Jake? Why would Caleb put the?
Exactly.
I like your enthusiasm, Jack.
This is not that kind of book. That's actual incest, not pseudo incest. Yeah, they
My
go.
bad.
It's not gay if their penises don't touch.
Wait, but how did she get in the bar if
It's not
she's
gay if they're father and son.
Awkward.
the
Okay.
silence there
So
was epic.
so the birthday.
she's-
Okay. So what they say, and I don't know the truth of this. It seems ridiculous, but whatever. In Colorado, apparently, the way the law says is that if you are accompanied by your parent or guardian, you are allowed to drink in a drinking establishment.
I call shenanigans.
I
but
too call shenanigans, but I don't. I just work here. I don't know.
I'm really shocked that you didn't look that up.
Listen, it's been a week. There's only so much I can get down. I had to draw Penis Mountain, Ashton.
Okay, this is true.
Like, what do you want from me?
But then some shit goes down and like
Yeah, so there's a big to-do where Tiernan is confronted by Cece and Terrence, and because they're like trying to break her away from the family because there's like all this conflict going on.
Was there a scene with the fucking water though that happened before then?
So early on, actually, she goes on a hike by herself.
Oh yeah,
to the
and
pond.
Terrence is like, "Oh hey, lady," and she's like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
she's like
hey."
almost skinny dipping in the
Yeah.
pond, and he comes out on his
And
bike.
Caleb almost beats the shit out of her.
No,
And-
Caleb holds up a gun to him and
Yes.
is going to fucking shoot him.
And then Noah gets her
And
out
then
of
Noah
there.
gets her out of there. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Red flags.
Oh my God.
Red flags. That's a purple mountain penis. Yeah. So that
Anyway,
happened.
so the birthday thing. So she gets confronted by Cece and Terrence, and they're trying to like lure her off the mountain basically for the winter time so that she doesn't go hang out with them the whole winter. And it's almost, I know what Penelope's doing here. It's under the guise of like, we want to protect you from these monsters, blah blah blah.
we're
and,
good people.
and we're the good people. And then like
Jokes on you, we're all trash.
at the end of the book, you realize how terrible they really are. But
oh yeah, Terrence in particular.
yeah, well,
Well, yeah,
Cece's no
Cece
better.
too. Yeah.
That's a whole resolution later on. But basically, there's a bar fight,
And then Caleb backs into their
and then
vehicles.
in their getaway, Caleb's driving the truck back up the mountain, and he backs over all of their fucking bikes and takes off. And so, like after they come off the mountain later, like in April or whatever it is,
Well, they're expecting the cops to show up.
the cops chase them up the mountain, but
Yeah.
it's literally the 1st of November and it's snowing, which is just too perfect. Like, yeah, the 1st of November it's going to start snowing, and then it immediately starts snowing on the 1st of November, and it's like, really? I don't think that's how weather works, but okay.
I feel like you're splitting hairs at this point in the game.
Listen,
there's enough other things you can pick apart. You
You're
don't need to
not
pick
wrong.
apart the weather.
You're so right.
Let's
Ashton.
be realistic.
Yeah,
about
that's
this.
100% fair. I digress. So they go back on the mountain. So after the the incident at the bar and the bikes and all that jazz. They're up at the mountain and they're stuck there for 6 months.
This is one of my fucking favorite scenes, though.
Which one?
When they're like all sitting around afterwards and they're watching TV, and it's like Noah and Tiernan on the couch and Caleb's behind, and she's like, "You expect me to believe that you go the entire 6 months without getting laid?" And they're all like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "It's gay for the stay. You're telling me that there's no other like men up here that you hook up with?" And he's like, and he ends up putting on a fucking porno.
He's like, "No, but we do this," and then he starts jerking off to a porno.
Yeah, right in front of her. And then she
starts masturbating in front of the porno.
And then Caleb is standing behind, and I can't remember if he's touching himself or not.
He's watching her.
He's watching. And then
he's just recording for his spank thing.
Yeah, 100%.
Noah goes, "I'm going to take your cherry," and Caleb's going to take your ass at the same time. And then Jake,
Uncle Jake comes downstairs.
and is like, "Go the fuck to bed."
And he puts them to bed and then spanks her.
Does he spank her? Oh, yeah, that's right. Because that comes up later on about how... Okay, yeah.
Because that cherry's mine, little girl.
It's made worse by the way she said it.
Okay, number one, that is correct. Because Uncle Jake is like, those boys wouldn't treat you well. I know how to treat you well. So if
Yeah.
anyone's taking your cherry, it's me.
And then they go hunting.
So fast forward a couple weeks or whatever. So again, she's been 18 for a grand total of 5 weeks. And
We're splitting hairs again.
the hairs need to be split. So they're out hunting, so it's snowy and whatever. And Uncle Jake is like making her kill a deer.
Yes.
Which I have issue with, regardless of what anyone else thinks. I don't think you should have to force someone to take another life of anything.
I agree, but I also see his point.
Of course I do, but that...
Why? What's his point? So she could save herself if she had to?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly
He said, I want to know that you can save yourself if anything happens to the three of us.
Mm-hmm.
Which I get.
I do get that.
But you're like, again.
Still not happy about it.
Kill this deer so I know you can survive, bitch!
Yeah, that's essentially it.
That's essentially it. So obviously that gets Uncle Jake all hot and bothered. So the boys...
I don't think that got him hot and bothered. I think it was the fighting that happened afterwards when they were like rolling around in the snow.
You're right. So he gets the boys to
Which
take...
admittedly is worse.
Yes. So he gets the boys to take the deer back, and they have 2 trucks up there, I guess. So they take the other truck and disappear.
And Noah's like, she should come with us because if you want her to learn how to kill it, she needs to also learn how to
like skin it and bleed it
to
and all
dress
that.
it
Yeah.
and stuff. And Jake's like, no, she's done. Which, okay, I get that it was like...
He has an ulterior motive.
I get the ulterior motive.
He wants to fuck Tiernan.
Yes, I know. I get that that's a thing. But also, the way he was like, she's done enough. At least he was looking
Convenient
over her.
excuse. I'm giving him nothing. He's getting nothing.
He's getting nothing.
So Jack, on that note, I'm going to get you to read the next scene.
I also need to state, this is the scene that I was listening to in my car while I was backing into a parking spot at work and didn't realize how loud my like volume was, and was being watched by a number of homeless people who stared me down until I turned my car off and got out.
Yeah, fair. I don't think you'd want to hear this in public.
Also, listening to the guy's voice, talking from Jake's perspective, was like, growly, delightful. Rachel's like, nope, barfy.
Slamming the door, I lean over her as she backs up to the other side, giving me room. I let my eyes fall down her body. The only clothing she has left is thigh-high white socks with a couple blue and white stripes at the top. She leans back on her hands but bends her knees up, crossing her legs at the ankles as her eyes fall, feeling shy. One pigtail drapes over her chest and I take it, running it through my fingers. Please, someone stop me, please. I take the back of her knee and pull her leg aside, spreading her thighs open for me. Her pussy, pink and tight and beautiful, sits there for the taking, but fuck. I drop my head, losing my breath. I'm holding on to my sanity by a thread here, Tiernan, I grit out. Stop me. Please just stop me. She arches up, leaving taunting little kisses on my neck, across my jaw and up my chin to my mouth. I meet her eyes, seeing tears in hers. You know why my parents sent me to you? She asks, her voice barely a whisper. Because you're nothing for anyone to fear. I tense as she continues her little kisses. You would never take my inheritance before I was old enough to claim it, she says, sick amusement in her voice as her fingers glide down my stomach. It would never occur to you to force me to live here or have the balls to stand up to me. I bare my teeth, my heart pumping wildly. Excuse me? So don't worry, she breathes out. I'm not afraid of you. You won't take anything you want. You're safe. Weak. My father said so. And then she gives me a condescending smile. I was never worried. I dive down, sinking my mouth into her pink pussy and pressing her thighs wide for me. Ah, she cries out. I was joking. I'm sorry. I wrap my arm under one of her thighs and hold her to me as she arches her back and squirms. You're what? I challenge, swirling my tongue in steady hard circles over her little nub. Sorry, she stammers. I'm sorry, Jake. Oh, God. That's fucking right. I want that piece of shit to hear his little girl scream my name wherever the hell he is. I want him to know how much she loves her Uncle Jake. I suck her and lick, nibbling and kissing around her pussy and inner thighs and teasing her little hole with the tip of my tongue. She moans when I do that, and I do it again, savoring her taste and tightness. My cock bulges and seeps, and I continue eating her while I undo my hunting pants and jeans. Jesus, just thinking about how tight she is. She digs her nails into her thighs, and I suck on her clit, chewing it gently as her stomach rises and falls, faster and faster. I lift up, rubbing her little nub with my thumb and watching her tits move up and down. I'm so glad you came to live with us, baby, I say. You want me to stop? Her eyes watch my hand work. No, she rushes out in a whisper. Please do it some more. She claws down her thighs. Do what some more? Lick me. Lick your what? I tease, making the little bitch eat her words about me being weak. My pussy, she says, wetting her lips. I like it when you do that. Please do it some more. She falls back to the seat, closing her eyes and rolling her hips into my hand, hungry for more. Please lick me down there again. God, what those words do to me. We should be in a bed. I fist my cock with one hand, stroking it, while I dip down to keep eating her because she likes it so much. I swirl and nibble, suck and lick, sinking with her breasts and going faster and harder as her lungs fill again and again. Yes, yes, she pants, opening up wider, one leg through the opening between the front seats and the other up over the back seat. Fuck, I'm coming. Oh, God, she shakes, her short, shallow breaths racking through her body. Oh, God, Jake, you feel so good. She sucks in a breath, and I know her orgasm is cresting, and I stop, my tongue paused on her clit a moment before I raise my head. Her eyes remain closed, but after a moment, pain is etched across her face, and she blinks her eyes open. She finds me watching her. No, she begs. Don't stop, please. What are you doing? I leave a little kiss on her clit, feeling the pulse inside throb like she just ran a marathon, and I almost feel sorry for her. I rise up, looking down at her. Jake, she says, looking like she's about to cry, but then her hands dip between her legs as she tries to finish herself off. But I take her wrists, pinning them to her sides. Please, she squirms with need. I lean down, leaving little kisses on her stomach. I would never take your inheritance because your money doesn't interest me, I tell her between kisses. It would never occur to me to force you to live here because I don't have to. You like me. I smirk as I trail kisses up to her tits, licking a nipple. So don't worry, I taunt. I don't want you to be afraid of me. I hated your fucking slimy parents, but they left me a really pretty piece of ass who likes it when I lick her pussy. I cup her between her legs, rubbing my palm over her clit and dipping the tip of my middle finger into her cunt. Her hips shoot off the seat. I push her stomach back down and do it again, swirling some wetness around her. I slide it in a little deeper. She arches up, grabbing my wrist with both hands. No. I kiss her mouth, her soft lips loving me back. I know, you still have your cherry. It's okay. I soothe her, bringing more wetness out and swirling it around her pussy. I'll get you ready. Keeping the tip of my finger inside her, I dive down again and start working her clit, bringing her back and giving her the orgasm I took away in punishment for her smart mouth. Uncle Jake, she moans. Don't stop. Please don't stop. I won't, baby, I tell her. It's yours. Take it. Sucking and licking, I speed up my mouth as I hear her body get more excited, panting harder and harder. I dip my finger in and out, just the tip, over and over again, and when she starts coming in for it, planting her hand on the door behind her head to thrust her body to meet my finger, I smile to myself because she's ready to be filled. She knows it's what she needs. She groans, her tits bobbing back and forth, and my mouth and finger work. I'm dying because her tight little cunt around my finger is lighting my body on fire. She's wet and soft, her folds around my finger giving me a small taste of what my dick will be feeling in just a minute. Her pussy tightens, her breathing stutters. She bites down on her bottom lip as she squeezes her eyes shut and moans. Jake! She cries out, and I feel it. Wetter and hotter, she coats my finger, and I'm about to fucking come myself. Fuck. Rising up, I stare down at her as I reach into the center console, pulling out a condom. No, she whimpers, rising up and looking at me. Bear, please. I want to feel all of it my first time. My cock twitches, wanting that too. I don't want anything between us. But I shake my head. I won't be able to pull out of you, I tell her. Not the first time. She kisses my stomach. Do you usually use rubbers? I hold her hand to me, reveling in her mouth. Always. The last woman I fucked without one was my wife 16 years ago. She eyes me. I've been on the pill a long time, she says. Fuck me bare. She licks my abs and my stomach tightens. A layer of sweat coats the back of her neck, and I push her down on the seat, coming down on top of her and covering her mouth with mine. Her hands go to my hips, both of us pushing my jeans and hunting pants down, and as soon as my dick is free, her hand wraps around the long, hard shaft. Everything swells and heats up, my stomach on fire. Fuck, Tiernan, I murmur over her lips. Fuck. She licks my lips as I crown her entrance, and I lift up so I can look down at her as I push inside. Spread your legs, I tell her. She hangs one through the opening between the front seats and presses one into the back seat again, and I grip the door above her head with one hand and her hip with the other, thrusting my hips and pushing my cock inside her. Ah, she cries out, digging her nails into my chest. My arms almost give out. Tiernan, I moan, closing my eyes at the pleasure. It's so hot and tight. Fuck, she's wet. She shakes, her mouth open in surprise or pain, I don't know. I lean down to kiss her. You're doing good, just hold on to me. Her breathing calms, and I hate that I have to do this, but it's better not to tell her anyway. I slide out, almost all the way, and then thrust, sinking all the way inside her this time, to the hilt. Her back arches off the seat, a pained look crossing her face, and she whimpers, squeezing her eyes shut. I kiss her lips gently. Good girl. Oh, God. It takes a moment for her eyes to open, but as soon as her breathing calms and her body relaxes, she glides her hands up my back and kisses me. That was the hard part. I nibble her lips and settle between her thighs. This is the fun part. I move, thrusting my cock inside her, sliding in nice and deep, how she likes it. Her legs fall open more and more, and I hold myself up, looking down at her body lying open for me and taking me. Her pretty breasts bob back and forth, and I run my free hand up and down her body, squeezing her tit, her neck, and holding her face. God, she moans, when you go deep. I smile and lean back down, pumping her as I suck her neck and ear, and then her mouth. You like it? I taunt. She nods, and then she grabs my waist, guiding me into her as she rolls her hips to meet me. Fuck yes, that's it. Liquid heat courses down my body, and I thrust harder and harder. Yes, she pants, holding on to me as she arches up to kiss my neck. You feel so good. Don't stop. She layers her lips with mine, her breath hot and wet. Don't stop. Don't stop. The nerves under my skin fire, and I feel her heat wrap me up as I push her thighs up higher and drive into her. Tiernan! I kiss her deeply, licking her sweat, reveling in the heat inside the cab, and tasting my life all those years ago when I would have died happy doing this to someone for the rest of my life. I look down at Tiernan, her body taking everything I'm giving, and I swear I want to swallow her whole. I'd forgotten what this felt like, to actually want to make someone happy. She comes up, locks of her hair stuck to her face, and sinks her tongue into my mouth, her body tensing and shuddering as her moan drifts down my throat. Her pussy contracts, and I know I don't have to hold it anymore. She lets out a cry, and I thrust, throwing my head back and driving into her again and again, harder and harder. Heat fills my groin, the blood rushes, and I come, spilling deep inside her with one final thrust. My lungs empty, and I nearly collapse, dropping my head to her shoulder. Holy shit, I murmur, breathing a mile a minute. Her arms circle me, her thighs tightening around my waist, and I run my hand up her leg, up her cute socks and hot thighs, over the curve of her ass and up her torso. Lifting my head, I stare down at her. Don't talk, she says right away. You'll ruin this. Feel guilty later. You fucking creep, Uncle Jake.
Thanks for that, Jack. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
So what's super fun about that?
Go on. Finish your thought.
She only actually stays with Uncle Jake for like a short period of time.
Yeah, until she realizes that she's like madly in love with Caleb.
Is it
Caleb? The one that doesn't speak?
Yep.
Yeah. So Uncle Jake, and that another plot hole. Like Uncle Jake decides he's gonna go up into the mountains
Yeah, he goes fishing.
to
I think.
go fishing
Yeah.
at their like camp, knowing that he's fucking his niece and his sons want to fuck her. So he's like, I'm gonna leave her alone with them. That's a good idea. So he does, and then something happens. The place gets set on fire. The barn gets set on fire.
So the barn gets set on fire. You find out near the end of the book that Terrence was responsible for it. He admits to it. Gets caught. But yeah, and then so like there's this big scramble in the middle of it.
She gets cut.
Yeah, she gets injured, and Caleb sews her up and disinfects it and everything. And then they both fuck her
Yeah.
in Caleb's room.
Only Noah didn't take her cherry like he promised he was going to. But he still fucked her, and Caleb still fucked her ass.
Yeah, they DP'd her.
Yep, big time.
Which
Two
was
dicks.
which was a thing. Anyway, whatever. It's like,
It's not gay if it's in a three-way.
it's not gay if it's in a three-way.
Is it incest if it's in a three-way?
It's not incest if it's in a three-way.
There was no swords crossing. in
There
this.
is no certified sword crossing in this book, which I am a little disappointed at, but not really because
I love how you're like, I'm a little disappointed that the brothers didn't cross
So-
swords, but I'm really upset that the uncle fucked his niece.
no, sorry. If you let me finish my thought,
There's other boys in the book, like
Yes, there is.
Terrence.
there sure is. What I was going to say is that I'm sad there's no certified sword crossing in this book because this book is incredibly taboo. But I'm not that upset because the three main male characters
Yeah.
are all related.
Yeah.
Unacceptable.
Unacceptable. And what's wild about it is, though, is like after all of that goes down, you'd think, okay, well, now she's going to end up with Noah because that makes sense.
That makes sense. And especially because they have a very strong emotional bond with each other.
Yep.
And especially because Noah wants to leave. And so when she leaves, he wants to go with her
Yep.
back to LA.
but
to find
she,
a sponsor
but
and
she's
blah,
not
blah.
attached to Noah.
So anyway, it turns out she ends up being like
Super
her and
attached.
Caleb end up building this bond together, and to the point of Caleb is like
Obsessively possessive.
obsessively possessive is a great way to put it.
He also, like, with her night terrors and stuff like that, Caleb, I mean, admittedly it is creepy because he's been going into her room and he knows that it's happening.
He
But
locks her in her room at one point. Do you remember that?
yeah,
Oh, it's freaky.
yeah,
Caleb does.
Caleb does.
So it kind of like, I mean, obviously I didn't read the book and I don't know all the details, but she obviously had like a really shitty childhood, and then she just lost her parents and fucked her uncle and blah blah blah. So like kind of checks out that she ends up with the guy who doesn't speak and is creepy as fuck and
She just wants
borderline
to be loved.
abusive, rather than like the maybe nice guy Noah who might be good for her. And like, even though it's kind of weird that they're like kind of related, but they're not really related and they didn't grow up related, so it's like kind of maybe okay. And she at least isn't like fucking him and maybe not calling him cousin Noah while she does it.
Cousin Noah.
Just saying.
I agree with everything you just said, Jacqueline.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. And then, because then that when
We're skipping over. There's like I said, this
There's
book
so
is
much stuff.
overwritten a lot.
There's
so
so much
like,
stuff.
there's so many points that we could talk about. Like, oh my gosh.
well, Jake comes back and freaks out, and he's like, "I'm not sharing. I'm not fucking the same girl." Like, basically,
Toxic bullshit men
yeah.
stuff.
So Noah ends up winning, quote unquote. And does she read to him?
What?
There's books in his room
Okay, so
and scratch marks on the floor. I forgot about that.
So Caleb, at one point, they have a big fight, and
Because of the pregnancy thing.
no,
Oh.
no, not at all. This is way before that. So at one point they have a fight, and Caleb, because he's a fucking child, in retaliation, goes and destroys a bunch of furniture that she's been refinishing and designing and all that stuff,
right.
and like literally just destroys it. And so
because he's a man child.
So she comes to like kind of apologize and rectify the situation, and then she finds out that he had done this and that he lit a fucking fire and was like burning the remnants of
Yeah.
the things she'd been working on. And so she like just wasn't having none of that, and she went into her room, slammed her door, and refused to talk to him. And then he took off into the woods, and so he was gone for quite a while. Like I think he ended up being gone for like a couple weeks. And so at one point she was up in his room, going like just kind of like sleeping in his bed and stuff because she missed him and all this jazz.
Yeah, this is after she had slept with the two of them.
Oh yeah, this is way after that.
Yeah.
And so she was looking through his books,
Yes.
and she noticed that he'd been kind of journaling in his book. So she was another cringe. He was writing in all of these books, which makes me want to die. But that's my
For
personality.
completely
for wholly different
unrelated reasons.
Yeah, he's like writing like, in the actual covers of the books and stuff. I'm like,
He
don't.
also dog ears the pages. Damn it, Caleb.
Anyway, so she's reading through all of these like
Yeah.
kind of diary entries about him, and she pieces all these things together, and then misses him and his mopey mope, and then
Mopey
she
girl
wakes.
mope.
Yeah, so she wakes Noah up in the middle of the night. It's like 2 a.m. or something, and she's like, "We have to go find Caleb. Like, I can't put up with this anymore. Like, we're gonna go find him." So
Oh,
the
yeah,
two
yeah,
of
yeah.
them go off into the woods. And then it starts like storming, whatever, and they're trying to figure out where he is. And then she remembers reading one of the things he had written in one of the books. Was about a specific place where
The
they
cabin.
sometimes go. Yeah, it was a cabin in like kind of like a canyon of some sort, basically. That's kind of protected away from a lot of the elements. Like it was through a tunnel, secret tunnel thing. Anyway,
Secret tunnel.
secret tunnel. Anyway, so long story short, though, they find Caleb. They like make up. They go back together.
There's
And
something
then-
with books. They're reading books there.
Yeah, I mean, so he had been reading a book at one point,
Yeah.
and
And they
then
read it
and then
together.
so she was reading the book to him later on. But then they go back, and everything's hunky dory, and then the snow clears.
Yes.
and they can go down back into the town.
Jake goes down to make sure that Caleb's not going to be arrested.
Well, first of all, if you recall, she goes to town with the two guys, and they run into Cece.
Oh,
and
yeah, yeah.
Cece is about 7 months pregnant.
Right.
And one of the last people to
Gasp.
fuck Cece before the snow fell was Caleb. And so there's this whole like, and she had obviously alludes to the fact that he's the father. You're the father. so he has a
Caleb, you are the father.
So he has a meltdown, and then Tiernan obviously has a meltdown, and then now we're getting to the point where Tiernan's like, "Why won't you talk to me? Like of all the people, and whatever, like you won't say anything to me." And she's like, "Just tell me that it's not yours, and tell me you didn't do this, and blah blah blah."
Was this after he threw her birth control in the garbage, though?
I feel like it probably was.
I think it was after he
there's
threw her
that
birth
yeah.
control
There's
in
a
the
whole
garbage.
scene where she like
She like digs
she's
him
looking in the
out.
mirror and she's like, oh man, I could be preggers. Like, I'm not, because she was like late, a couple days late in her period or something. And she's like, yeah, but I could be pregnant at some point. That would be great. I'm just like, fuck, I want to die.
And then he
It's
like
like
pushes,
you can't be 18 fantasizing about being pregnant. That's so weird to me.
and then he like pushes her birth control in the garbage. She's like, no, you can't do that. Ha ha ha.
Don't
And
put
then-
my birth control in the garbage.
And then digs it out, and then he does it again, and then she's like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe.
And then she's like, I'll go back and get it later. Just like leaves.
Maybe.
The scene ends.
maybe.
Anyway, yeah, then they go to town. They run into Cece, all that jazz. And then so they
She
freak
knocked
out.
it.
Yeah, they freak out and they like have a falling out again. And then so Jake takes the two boys back to town. One to like clear their name because he was going to get charged for the property damage.
Yes.
And then they also went down to like find out, because Jake, rustles some feathers to find out who the father of Cece's kid is, basically. Like it's a whole thing. Well, so they assume it's Terrence because she would have conceived the kid the couple weeks that he was away in the forest. Conveniently.
He was away in the forest.
Like
When he
before
was
before Tiernan showed up. Like anyway, plot holes.
When he was in.
Oh, at the very beginning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Before
Oh,
Tiernan
wow.
even showed up.
Because he was in. That's what they say.
Yep.
He's
You're not
in.
wrong. He's in.
He's in.
And then so she is back there. She's like seething.
Yeah, she's going to go home.
And Mariah shows up to visit because the snow is clear now. And she has like a fight with Caleb basically about this whole thing. But like, why won't you talk to me and all this shit? And so she ends up, she had her bags packed and she was going to leave. But she was only going to stay with Mary for the night. And then Mariah, sorry. She was going to stay with Mariah for the night.
I was like, who's Mary? Where'd this person come from?
Sorry. And what happens is Caleb picks up her luggage and puts it in the back of the car, insinuating that she should leave.
But this is... is this before or after Terrence comes and like attacks her and shit? Doesn't Mariah come after Terrence attacks
Yes,
her?
that's after.
Because that's why he wants her to... That's part of the reason... Because she leaves and goes back, and then he comes and finds her. But in the meantime, there's a scene where Terrence and... Because when the guys are down in the...
You're right. You're right, because they're in town.
Yeah. And Terrence and a bunch of people break into because they're going to steal like bikes and stuff like that. And Terrence is going to like basically sexually assault her and whatever.
Yeah, he's going to R-word her.
Yeah.
That's his plan.
Big time. Because he's a douche nozzle. And like... She's like fighting against...
Yeah, she ends up like shooting with her compound bow or something.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
wasn't him. It was the other guy. There's two other guys. Him and two guys.
Well, she shoots two guys. She shoots two of the guys and one of the guy takes off.
Yeah.
Or no, sorry. She shoots at one of the guys, misses, and then she ends up shooting Terrence in the shoulder.
Yeah.
And then he takes off or whatever. And
Yes.
Or no, they call an ambulance and bring him. Anyway. And this is where you find out that he was responsible for the fire because he admitted it to and all this stuff. And anyway.
Because he's a big douchebag.
Drama. It's like fourth quarter drama.
So much
Oh, wait.
drama.
So Caleb didn't start the fire?
No?
Why would Caleb start the fire?
I thought he was burning up all the shit that she was reading.
Oh, that was a
No.
different. Yeah,
That
it
was a different
thing.
time.
That was when
That was
they were
a
having
different
fight.
fire.
Oh, there
That
was
was actually-
multiple fires.
That was also a contained fire.
Yeah, that was a control fire.
It was it was like a
Okay.
fire barrel.
I see.
fire barrel.
They do. They burn all their garbage,
Yes, I
which
know.
Tiernan has an issue with because she's like, "You're not supposed to burn plastic," and they're like, "Well, we don't have garbage control up here. They don't come up here."
Plot holes.
Listen, I just work here. Anyway, so she ends
leaves.
up going back to L.A.
Yep.
after because he basically is like, "You should leave."
Yeah.
And so
Which
she goes-
admittedly is probably one of the best things you could ever do for her.
Wait, I thought he doesn't talk.
He doesn't.
He doesn't. He put
like,
her luggage out in the car for her to
Oh.
leave.
Oh.
So she goes back to L.A., settles back into her parents' house.
Yep.
Redecorates that house, whatever.
Goes to
She's
school.
been applying to colleges and got in, and so right now it's like I think they jump ahead like 6 weeks or something. So it's like the middle of the summer, or it's like June or something. And so
Turns into Noah.
so she goes to the beach because it's like a
Yeah.
little drizzly and there's a whole backstory there. And so she goes to the
Yeah.
beach and she's eating her breakfast burrito and listening to music, and then Noah just like shows up out of nowhere.
I know, and that was so sweet though. Like this is the part where I was like, this was a healthy resolution to their relationship. Like him recognizing that he was projecting onto her something that he wanted and realized that he didn't actually want her, and that he needed her in his life in the way that she was there, like as a support thing.
Yeah.
Which
Like maybe as a cousin?
I think maybe a cousin is what you're describing.
I don't think you need to be cousins in order to be a support system for someone, but
It helps.
it helps.
Yeah.
Does it though?
My cousin's very supportive of me. I love her. She's great. So then she goes back to the house.
Yeah.
And she kind of tiptoes around because Uncle Jake is there.
Oh, right.
Having a conversation with Mariah.
About how he fucked the girl.
So Mariah does end up getting the story
Yes.
out
Does
of
she
Tiernan.
get fucked too?
Yes.
She is incredibly mad about the whole situation.
Yes.
Because she is a protective person, but she also didn't want to tramp all over Tiernan's life and ask her like pointed questions and stuff like that. So she didn't know about it until now because Tiernan wouldn't have told her.
But also, she finds herself oddly attracted to Uncle Jake.
Gross. Anyway, the epilogue. Fucking stupid. Anyway,
the
so
epilogue.
It's all that teenage girl like oozing from him. Just
Gross.
makes her hot.
Makes Mariah hot?
Yeah.
He had sex with the girl that is essentially my ward, and now I'm hot and bothered by it because he's a pervert.
Yes,
Oh.
exactly.
Okay.
And all the other village
People?
teeny boppers.
Village People. That's a different book. So then, of course, Caleb rolls up.
No.
Sorry, she's looking out her window doing, I don't know, looking out her window. Oh,
No, because it's the tink, tink, tink. And she's like,
she's
oh,
like, it doesn't hail in LA.
it almost reminds me of being back on the mountain. And then she looks out her window, and the motherfucking tire swing is
There's
back
a tire
up.
swing back.
Yeah, and she's like, what the fuck? Why is the tire swing back? So she goes outside and she's like investigating, and then Caleb's there. And he talks to her because we didn't mention this, but the reason that Caleb didn't talk is because of childhood trauma being left in a car for 4 days.
And he never got pushed on a tire swing either.
I think his trauma's a little bit worse than that.
Anyway, then it ends. Whatever. They have kid. They go off to college.
Then it
whatever.
ends. It's more. She's all shocked because he starts talking and he tells her that he went to, like, into the mountains after she left, and he read the book and he practiced speaking so that he could be everything she needed him to be. Rachel's making so many faces right now.
Garbage.
And then the epilogue, and they're all camping at the lake, and they have a baby.
They have a son named Griffin.
All cute.
And then they're like, hey, Griffin, this is your Uncle Jake.
Who's with
Graham-
Mariah.
Also your grandfather.
Grampy. Grumple. Grunkle?
Grunkle Jake.
Grunkle Jake.
Trademark Jack.
Good God.
I love how Rachel was just like, and then it ends. I was like, no, it doesn't just end. There's more to it than
it's
that.
over. We're done.
I don't want to talk about this anymore.
And now we are officially at the end. Officially.
But he's like, he was all supportive and stuff. I'm grasping at straws here. Just
All right, we're
because
gonna rate this
Rachel-
book. Let's get this over with. we're gonna 3 mountains. Let's go. I drew 3 penis mountains. We're gonna rate it under 3 mountains. Jack, what do you got?
Are there holes in the mountain? Tunnels?
There's plot holes all over them hills.
I'm surprised there's no red flags on the mountain.
You could color a red flag on that mountain if you want.
You could color a red flag on the mountain.
We'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes.
I'm going to rate it Noah's Penis Mountain.
Which one's Noah's Penis Mountain?
Which color is the one you
Yeah,
colored?
which color? You should really write their names on them so we know.
Well,
it
this
pink?
one's Uncle Jake because it's got the
There's
red
a red flag at the top. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
And it's the biggest.
This one's kind of weird looking.
They're mountains shaped like dicks. They're
So that one's Caleb's.
Weird shaped Dick Caleb.
Well, because he probably squeezed it pretty hard when he was abandoned in a cart for 4 days.
he was 4.
We should mention he was 4. So would you like to track that?
No. I didn't mean like he was masturbating. I just meant like he was probably terrified, so you squeeze your dick or something. I don't know. I don't know what 4-year-olds do, but he's all full of trauma and stuff. So his dick's weird. Just leave it, okay? Noah's this purple one here. The lighter purple.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then this one over here,
Is that a mountain?
it's a 4th dick. mountain.
It's a dick off screen.
But you don't see the tip. So this one's Terrence.
No, that's the guy that she should have ended up with. The one that's not a red flag. Tiernan should have ended up with somebody other than the three people.
Someone who wasn't in this book.
So he's off screen.
No, that's Terrence.
Okay.
Off
Terrence to
screen
me is
is
like
way over there.
Terrence to me is like drowning in the lake.
Anyway, so a Noah penis and Terrence's balls.
So, one and some balls.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Terrence's balls, maybe he just has one ball.
Okay, that's fair.
And it has a cave in it. Because it's a mountain.
Secret tunnel.
Terrence with his ball cave.
Also, it's not his baby.
How do you know?
Because he's shooting blanks.
Oh, okay.
Fair. I mean, I assume CC's been around the block a bit.
Could be Uncle Jake's baby. She was fucking him too.
Probably.
But I think it is discovered that it is Terrence's baby.
They assume it is.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's factual, whatever. What do you reckon?
2.
2 mountains out of 3 mountains?
Yeah.
2 dick
Whose
mountains?
dicks?
Which dicks?
I can't pick whose.
Yeah, you
Why?
have to pick which dicks.
Or you
Okay,
can say,
I
like,
want the big dick and then the chud.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. That's all the clarification I need. Do you want to justify that, or that's your...
Just for the record, that's Uncle Jake and Caleb.
I didn't specify, but anyway.
You don't have to.
What did you ask me?
Did you want to speak about why you're rating it 2?
Because if it was rated, if we were rating it at something more than 3, then I probably would have, like, if we were rating it at like 7, I probably would have rated it like a 4. But because there's only 3, I'm rating it 2 because
That's fine.
It
You're
doesn't-
rounding up.
Yeah, it doesn't just it was better than a 1 to me, but it was not as good as a 3. It was what it was. It was entertaining to me, so I didn't pay attention to plot holes. And I mean, admittedly, the more traumatic it is, the more I tend to like go from dipping my toe into just fucking cannonballing the fuck out of it.
That's legit.
Yeah, like let's be real here. So yeah, that's my 2.
Okay. I'm going to rate it Mount Tom.
Mount Tom's not on there.
You're right. You're right. Mount Tom isn't actually a mountain. It's in Nova Scotia. It's kind of a big hill. The weather there is always fucked up though. And I never really liked it. Never cared for it. So there you go.
I'm so proud.
Thank you, Jack.
That she deviated from the rating system?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's as close as I can get to rating it half a mountain. Because I will say the first quarter of this book, I was impressed and I gave me hope. And I like
Even the second time.
even the second, especially the second time actually.
I really love that. I cannot express enough how much I love that when you read it the second time, no matter what the book seems to be, you still enter into it with like a slight degree of hope.
Yeah.
And then you're like, nope, still shit.
I'm looking at it from a more analytical point of view. And so when I say it gives me hope that like my impression may have changed from the first time I read it.
Oh, I thought you meant whether or not the book got better. I was like, they tend to stay the
No,
same.
well, I mean, that's the thing. When I read Gravity, for example, I'm like, man, do you ever just start reading a book and you're like, I hope this turns out different than it did the first time because I know the trauma that's coming up and I can't.
Yeah, but I
hate
like
it.
that trauma. That was like,
I've watched movies that I hated the first time and then liked them.
I think every
yeah,
time,
solid.
yeah, like
Napoleon Dynamite, I'm looking at you.
I think every Tarantino movie I've ever watched in my life, the second time I watched it, I liked it a little bit more.
Yeah,
But
but
the
you
first
pick-
time, I have bad first impressions of all the Tarantino movies.
You pick up things.
Yeah, it's true.
When you watch, especially when books or movies are nuanced.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things that you pick up and you're like, oh right.
I agree. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so
we're not calling this book nuanced.
I was just
though,
gonna
are
say
we?
this book is like face value. It is what it is.
I mean, in fairness, there is some nuance to this book, but it does it zero justice. The nuance is the like day-to-day existence and over analyzation of everything, and it makes me crazy. So it doesn't do it any good.
It's not good nuance.
No, it's not. It's bad nuance, honestly. Like if there was less nuance in this book, I would take it more at face value. But they tried to write an in-depth, serious book, and it's just not. So it's half a mountain, basically.
When I saw this book originally talked about, it was on Raylo Twitter. I know.
Really? Why was that, do you think?
One of the Raylos was reading it.
Oh, okay.
And they were
I was just wondering if there's a connection.
no, there's not.
Okay.
One of the Raylos was reading it. I can't remember who. And they were like, oh my God, guys, this book. And I'm this far in, and this is the things. And it didn't outline any of the red flag trauma because they hadn't gotten that far into it.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, okay, that sounds delightful.
They still had the hope that Rachel had. Aww.
I will say, though, that Book Talk did wreck this a lot. It came out in 2020. And
Yeah.
so, like, Book Talk was really taking off in 2020. Because of the pandemic, everyone was really, like, wrecking books. And so this book came up a lot and people really still recommend it.
Book talk you have to take with a grain of salt, because a lot of times I have found that recs come not from decent plot and like the things that you're looking for, and come more from like shock value.
But I agree. But now I'm to the point where I've read enough in each kind of grouping of recs that if I see a certain book come up, I know that not to trust the rest of them.
Yes.
So like Den of Vipers, for example, it's like if someone recs Den of Vipers in a group of other books, I know exactly what they're saying. And it's the same with Credence. If I see Credence come up in a collection of other books, I'm immediately associating the rest of those books with Credence, and I know they're not for me.
I had done that to a point, but then I accidentally read a book that was wrecked by.
You accidentally read a
Well,
book?
like I forgot that it was wrecked in a.
Whoops.
Yeah, like I slipped and fell on the book. Actually, I read a book like that. No, like there was a group of books that were wrecked, and I was like, oh, I'm not gonna bother reading that because this other book was wrecked, and I really didn't like that book. And then fast forward to a couple weeks later, and it was wrecked in another group of books, and I completely forgot about the previous group of books. So I was like screenshotting as I do, and then I picked it up and I was like, oh, I really like this. And so I read, and then I read it, I liked it, and then that other TikTok came up with the group of recs again, and I was like, wait, I didn't like this one, I liked this one, and then I got confused.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, not everybody has like the exact, like if you find
That's my
someone
point.
that likes,
Yep.
yeah.
that's
Oh
my
yeah,
point.
fair, but I guess my only issue with that is that there are only so many hours in the day.
Oh yeah, hands
And
down.
if I'm going to make a snap judgment about something, that's generally how it's going to go.
Well, and I mean, to be fair too, if you found a book that was in a group and you're like, nope, and then I came along and was like, hey, I read this book and I really kind of liked it, you would ask for more information.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and a lot of books, like, yes, you read a lot of books off Book Talk, but then I also word vomit so many books on you. I can see why you would do that, because if it's going to get missed by Book Talk, or if you're going to miss over it by Book Talk, if it's good, chances are if I've read it, I'm going to tell you to read it. So
Yeah, between the two of us, I think we can come up with a fairly good catalog. So I want to thank you guys for joining me. Next time, we are heading back to the Old West, and we're reading Tidal Wave.
The Old West. The book is not set in the Old West.
No, it's set in the middle of the ocean.
Kidskin dildos.
Kidskin dildos. In the beginning, there was kidskin dildos. So we'll talk about that, though. We'll unpack that all next time, because I got stuff to talk about, obviously, for Tidal Wave, as usual.
There's so much to talk about.
There's so much to talk about. So, yeah, Tidal Wave, it is on Kindle Unlimited, and I did manage to find a used copy of it. So thanks for joining me. I'm glad this is over.
Can I just say I'm really proud of my penises?
You know what? I'm going to post the picture of your penis. Those are great.
I think they're beautiful.
I think you did an excellent job. I'm really impressed with those.
But you need to color that one thing at the bottom there on the right.
Oh,
there's
that's snow.
Oh, yeah, fair. It could be snow.
That's snow.
Okay. And
Okay.
Jack, I'd like to say that you went in a different direction with yours, and I really like it.
Thank you.
Hers
I
is
think
more
it's-
Art Nouveau.
It's very colorful, and I really enjoy it. I especially like the water. It's a good color. So, thanks for joining me. I'm glad this is over, and let's never talk about Uncle Jake ever again. I love you. Bye.
Uncle Jake will be coming
Bye.
up. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Penis.
Mountain.
Thanks for listening to the Queens of Spice podcast. You'll find us on Instagram and Twitter at Queens of Spice. Or if you want to send us an email, you can reach us at queensofspice@gmail.com.